talk to you briefly today about this little wonder. It is an aftermarket spring for a Bigsby vibrato, but it's not just any old spring. This particular one is made by Reverend Guitars, and you guessed it, they also make guitars. They call this one the soft touch spring. Now there's another one by a company called Bigsby, and they had a little bit more fun with their name. They call it the super squishy spring. As you probably guessed by the names of these things, the whole idea is to provide a spring that is more easily compressed. In other words, it's supposed to give you more control of your Bigsby, the ability to flutter better, and overall a more ease of maneuverability. So what are the differences between these types of springs and the original Bigsby spring? Well, I'm going to show you a side-by-side comparison, and hopefully some things stick out. First of all, the one on the left is a soft touch spring, and it's quite a bit taller than the original. Also, the wire diameter is a lot thinner than the original. Not the overall diameter, but the diameter of the wire that makes up the coil. I can't tell you the exact wire diameter dimensions, but I can tell you that the original Bigsby spring is about 7/8 of an inch tall, whereas the soft touch spring is an inch to maybe 1 1/8 inch tall. Speaking of height, installing a spring like this is also going to change the height of the arm off the top of the body of the guitar. Now with mine, the original Bigsby spring made the arm stick up about 2.1 inches off the top of the body. With the soft touch spring, it was about 2.4 inches. So about a difference of 0.3 inches, or a little bit greater than 1/4 of an inch and a little bit less than 3/8 of an inch. Now the height of the arm is probably just a preference thing, but in my mind, it gives you a little bit more room to wiggle the arm of the Bigsby. So just a few things to note about the differences between the Reverend spring versus the Bigsby, I'm going to call it the BBF spring. Essentially, they're the same thing as far as I know. The BBF spring is advertised as being 1 inch tall, whereas the Reverend spring is advertised as being 26 millimeters or about 1.02 inches tall. Now, I measured mine, and again, I think it's about 1 1/8 of an inch if I measured correctly, but essentially they're both 1 inch tall. The only other real difference is in the price, and it's not the base price because they both cost $10. However, Bigsby charges you $7 in shipping, whereas Reverend provides free shipping. So I'm going to give it to Reverend on that one. Something else I wanted to bring up briefly is the way the original spring moves versus the new spring. With the original spring, there's almost like a pre-action in the arm of the Bigsby, where when you initially push down on the arm, it moves about maybe 1/2 of an inch really easily, and then you meet the resistance of the spring. So there's that little bit of play there, whereas with the new spring, it's soft enough where you don't notice that difference. Now overall, I gotta tell you, I was really impressed with this spring. I heard some stuff about it and I thought, well, it's worth a shot for $10, but really I wasn't expecting too much. But I gotta say, I really like it. It makes the Bigsby easier to play, it's more fluid, it's really a night and day difference. And so I highly recommend it. I think it's worth a shot for $10, and I think you're gonna like it. And you're welcome, Reverend and Bigsby, for the free advertisement.
Show me that smile again.
Show me that smile.
So basically that's it. The only other thing I'm going to show you are a few sound clip comparisons between the old spring and the new spring. Now you're probably not going to see or hear a lot of difference, but maybe you'll hear a little bit more flutter or fluidity in the new spring versus the old one. Also, if you look at my hand, it looks like there's more ease of movement. It definitely felt that way to me. So hopefully all of this helps, and we'll see you in the next video. Almost forgot. I recently signed up for a Buy Me a Coffee account, and so if you feel inclined, you could buy me a coffee. Any little bit helps. I've never been sponsored. No one's ever sent me anything to review. I know, poor me. I don't have any merch to sell, except if you want to buy this album, you still can. Or you can just listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, and I would get a couple pennies for it. But, you know, if I'm honest, making YouTube videos for me right now is a pretty terrible return on investment, at least monetarily speaking. But of course, I do enjoy the content. And so if you want to help out, help me make more content, that would be fabulous. I will leave the link below, and thank you in advance.